In this video, we're going to talk about negotiation skill. It is not just a skill you need for collective bargaining. It is a tool you can apply in so many different circumstances. That's all coming up right now. Hi there, I'm Andrea Adams, the host of HR Shop Talk, and we're going to talk about a variety of things here that relates to HR. I encourage you to subscribe to the show or podcast to keep learning from my guests. Today, my guest is Susie Tomenchok again. She's the developer and facilitator of entrepreneurial leadership at the Entrepreneurship Academy. I got that out right this time, where she teaches negotiation as a part of power skills. As a former executive at a large corporation, she's applied negotiation skills in an everyday kind of way. And if that's not enough, she's also written a book on the subject. Hi, Susie.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. My favorite topic, my favorite power skill.
Perfect. Well, we're going to learn loads then. I'm excited. This is probably something I'm not very good at. Okay, so you teach negotiation as one of the power skills in your entrepreneurial leadership course.
Yep.
You also wrote a book on the art of everyday negotiation without manipulation. Did I get that right? Outright?
Yes, you got that right.
Okay, so first of all, how are you defining negotiation so we all understand what we're talking about here?
Yeah, we often say negotiation happens everywhere, and people will say, yeah, I understand that, until they start really understanding that. And then they go, oh my gosh, it is everywhere. And just to give some context, I negotiated big technology deals in my career. But it was when I started seeing negotiation in the hallways of my work with my peers, when I started seeing my kids, I started seeing negotiation every day. And what I started realizing is those strategies, those techniques are great for professionals, all professionals. For humans, it makes us better. We be clear about framing your ask, practicing silence, asking more, seeing no as a starting place, understanding leverage. Like, there's so many pieces of negotiation that just makes us better at interacting and communicating in our day-to-day. So I love to talk about the ideas of negotiation and enabling people to see it truly every day.
I have so many questions about what you just said. Like, for example, no is a starting place. I feel disrespectful when I go beyond no when they've said no.
Yes, it's so hard. We believe, research shows that we believe that no is easy for others to say. So when we hear it, we believe that it's no in never. But no is really, maybe sometimes people don't really mean to say no, never. They're just saying no, and they're expecting to move beyond it. And I'm not saying, why are you saying no? I need to understand why you're saying no. It's asking an adjacent question that's close. So help me understand more. What's important to you? Just asking open-ended questions that pushes through a little bit. What you can do is you can change the way the other person's thinking of it too. And they might see opportunities that they weren't seeing that are adjacent to the question you asked. Maybe the question you asked is no, but the more that you ask and go around it, there might be other things that it's an automatic yes, an easy yes too. So when we don't discover that, we don't know.
I kind of just picked the middle of the conversation because that one made me curious, but let's go through this maybe a little more logically. Okay, let's think about HR. We're hiring people. There's maybe some negotiation skill there, or helping organizations manage their workforce, and we're sometimes helping them if employees exit the organization. So what situations might where might we be using negotiation skill?
Yeah. Well, when you think about, one of the things that we all know that is around negotiation is leverage. We often think about leverage, and we often think about it as a salary, benefits, 401k, the things that come with the role. But it's so much more than, like, I like to say, you expand, what is timing, getting a role filled right away. There's different aspects of who the person will work for, the culture within the organization. There's a lot of value that we tend to just ignore, that from an HR perspective, you could highlight and say, these are some of the things to really highlight the package and frame it in a way that is really looks great for the individual. But then when you take that same concept and think about it, how you interact with people in your day-to-day, like people within the business, people that own, that maybe you're placing a team under, understanding the interests and the leverage of that person, of getting to know them. How do you build that relationship? Be thinking about, how do you interact? Thinking about it from a negotiation perspective, you consider the interests of the business owner and what's important to them. That can help you build that relationship, that rapport, that trust, that in the end, the long term, can really help you in your role and in your job, and not just in, the tactics that is in your everyday of what you're delivering. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I'm thinking, though, that, there are all of those things, and it's probably true of anybody in any job, but in HR, you might get passionate about a particular approach to solving some workplace issue you've spotted. Like, let's say I want to implement a wellness program. Because I think I see in my benefits data and this and that. Is that the kind of situation where we should be using negotiation skill?
Yeah. So that's a great example. And I'm glad you gave me one that would be really applicable for this group. So when you think about that, I would coach somebody and say, okay, think about how can you be most successful? Who in the organization needs to get on board with that wellness program? Who has influence within the organization that might be a great person to get excited about it? And maybe you seed the ideas with them first, so that they know what's coming, and be thoughtful about who can you go to and say, hey, here's my goal. This is what I'm trying to do. This is how I'm going to do it. Either what do you think, or how can you help me get there? So thinking about the success of a program or something that you want to do, who are the key people within the organization that can help it get some legs and get some loft. And then when you find the group that is maybe going to be the group that's going to be the first people to start to use it, what are their interests? What will motivate them to talk about it to other people? What's important to them? What can you give back to them? So when you think about the leverage that you have or the interests that they have, then you're thinking about it from a negotiation perspective. And then what do you give? What can you give them so that they can make you successful?
It's really striking me that this is an effort to get into people's head a little bit, to really understand their perspective. Okay, but let's not go there right now. So how is this going to help us advance our own careers if we're not like negotiating some high stakes thing? And maybe it's a employment contract for an executive, or it's collective agreements, like I mentioned earlier. How is this going to help us?
Well, the one key thing that I always talk about is preparation is the key to a successful negotiation. Period. Yeah. The more you can prepare in terms of what are the emotional things that you're going to go through in the conversation, what are the pieces of leverage, what's the interest of the other party, what is the timing good, where is it going to take place? When you think about all the things and you prepare for it, you're intentionally thinking about how you're going to move through it for success. So just taking that time and preparing. So if you have a conversation that's upcoming and say it's 5 minutes away, just thinking in those terms, getting used to this muscle memory of going, okay, what's the goal of the meeting? What are the interests of the other party? What success look like when you just take that time to prepare, whether it's a long time or even a short time, you're more likely to move in with success because you're going to frame the conversation in a way that the other person's going to understand what your goal is. You can show and illustrate that you understand what's important to them, and that gets them their buy-in. And then when you are very clear about that, you move toward that goal together and you think about how to get there. And then if emotions kind of get in your way, when you have a plan, you're more likely to stick with it.
Right.
When you don't, you'll be hijacked.
Yeah, you talked about the emotions, and that intrigued me. What emotions should you be prepared for?
Yeah. Well, the research shows that any emotion clouds your thinking at all. So when you're really happy, when you're angry, when you're sad, anything clouds your ability to really think creatively. And negotiation is about thinking creatively because you're thinking about what you want and what the other party wants so that you can move toward a win or just an agreement. And so emotion and being just aware of that. That's why prep is so important. When you know your floor and ceiling, when you're very clear about what the end is in mind, then you're less likely to get hijacked by those emotions. You can stay objective because you already have a plan. And so I find that even being able to say, okay, I'm triggered right now to myself, I'm just triggered. I know I don't want to make a decision right now in the moment because I'm clouded. So identifying when those emotions come up, because a lot of times they're very unexpected, right? We don't really know exactly, but we know once we know that can cloud us, it can be empowering to have a plan to make sure that you manage those emotions in the best way possible.
So you specifically incorporate the idea of manipulation even into the title of your book, I think. Why?
Well, we all have a different relationship with word negotiation. We all have different experiences around it. And people avoid it. We know that it's something that's important, but we tend to say, we'll wait for the YouTube video when it's really that important and I'll watch it and then I'll do what it tells me. But it's important to be able to reframe it in a way that it's not manipulative, where we think of these skills as power skills, that when we use them and get more comfortable with them, then it doesn't feel so foreign to us because it feels manipulative, because it feels foreign. And let me use a good example. We know that silence is powerful. We all know that. But we all know how awkward it is. And the best thing to do is to incorporate silence after you make your point and right after somebody else makes their point. And so just practicing these little things can make us feel more comfortable with that idea of silence.
Interesting. Okay. And what happens if we don't learn to negotiate and we wait till we know we need it and then we're going to go cram, YouTube videos? Then what?
Yeah. Well, then when those stakes are high, because that's when we normally cram, when the stakes are high, we're not going to do as well as we would if we were to incorporate negotiation in our everyday, because that silence is going to feel really awkward and we're going to not want to allow it to linger. We're going to step on it and get in our own way and not feel objective, not ask for some help to help yourself coach through it. We're not going to look at all the pieces of leverage that are at play so that we can anticipate that and really prepare and plan for success. So we can watch the YouTube video, but it really takes that muscle and repetition to get ourselves to be comfortable and understand the application of it. So using it every day will help us every day. And when those stakes are high, we feel more comfortable in it.
Okay. This is a process question.
Okay.
I'm kind of excited about this because we've been talking about it a lot in the art, but let's pretend you only have 2 minutes, 3 minutes to teach me how to negotiate. Okay, so what are those critical things I need to know in 2 minutes or less?
All right, let's do this really quick. Okay, prepare. Absolutely. Think about what your end in mind, understand the interests of the other party, and think about the emotions that you're going to go through. The second is being aware, understand what's going to happen in the moment, and anticipate what might get in your way or how you'll feel. So having that awareness in the moment and being able to say, okay, I'm feeling really triggered right now. I'm going to keep pushing through. This was my plan. And then practicing silence, I think, is a good one. That's a great one to practice. Asking more questions to get to understand what the interests of the other party. And then checking your relationship with no and seeing no as a starting place instead of an end.
Right.
And understanding that that's when you ask more questions or practice silence and move forward. So in 2 minutes or less, those would be the keys. Prepare, be aware in the moment, and then practice understanding no, silence, and asking more.
Final question here, just to summarize, where can someone find more about negotiation skill?
Yeah, so I did write a book, The Art of Everyday Negotiation Without Manipulation. Right. That's a great resource, I should say myself, but it's also a power skill that we teach at the Entrepreneurship Academy at the Cable Center under the entrepreneurial leaders. So that's a great place to get to know how to integrate negotiation as a professional in the everyday life so that you can get more comfort so that when the stakes are high, you're ready.
Amazing. Okay, I'll put links to all of those in the show notes. Thanks, Susie. That was just so great. Susie and I also did an episode on power skills, which we've referred to in this episode. That link is right here. Thanks for watching and see you next time.